Hey, thank you, Pooja. Thanks a lot. Uh, Greetings of the day, uh, you know, to everyone. Thank you for joining this session on driving business transformation in an accelerating world. So, before I get into that, I just wanted to share with you some of the recent happenings that have happened across the globe. Uh, you have been part of it, and I think most of you have experienced something which has been very, very different from what we have been seeing or witnessing in the past couple of decades. What we in the last 2 years have seen is a huge amount of transformation which has come upon us. In that, from that perspective, what I call this, like most of the industry stalwarts refer to this last 2.5 years as a digital transformation. In my mind, I'm absolutely clear it is nothing but digital revolution. If you were to go back in time, you would see when industrial revolution happened and how it transformed the world overall and how it changed the way humans were progressing. It created a direct and a social impact on each and every human being on the planet Earth. Now, similarly, if we were to look at what has happened during the period of pandemic, I think it's going to have an everlasting effect on the way we run our lives in terms of be it at home, be it in the office, be it any which ways. The way we are behaving as an individual or as a professional in our any and every personal or professional or social space. It's impacted us all. Now, what's largely behind this is the need for us to stay connected, stay in pace with the changing times. And that's, with that, I wanted to take you through as to what's happening across the globe. Before that, India also witnessed, a similar kind of impact, due to pandemic. We all, as you all see, we all working from home. And for the last 2+ years, first variant came, the Delta variant came. Now, as late as January, we saw Omicron coming in and disrupting our lives. But I guess what it has not disrupted is our ability to, take the, professional side of our, lives. It has remained, unhindered and what do I say? It should not, there has been no disruption whatsoever to our business, and that's largely due to your ability to transform yourselves and your teams. And that's actually the crux of the matter that I'm going to be discussing today. In terms of, we've always been prepared, we've always responded to what comes to us. Are we able to envisage as to which way the world is moving in future, and are we taking the necessary steps? That's something which we will be during the course of the presentation. I would be taking you through. With that, let me take you through a brief on how this next decade is going to be. What is it going to be? This next decade is going to be all about SMEs. Now, if you in India, you've seen already that in the last 1 year, so many startups have come in. So many, all of them are SMEs. They start off as small, then they progress. With the funding that they get, some become enterprise, some remain medium, some remain small, and some progress to becoming medium. But largely, if India has to grow, India has to grow through the SMEs. And what we have seen in the last year is around, overall, we have had a 227 billion revenue from the IT sector, from the business, and which is a 15.5% year-to-year growth. If you were to look at where this growth has happened from, it has happened, across the board. Whether you look at IT services, your business process management, or e-commerce, you look at hardware, software, ER&D, whatever you look at, everywhere, every sector has been green. In that, the biggest chunk, or rather the growth lever, has been provided by SMEs. In fact, anytime if you look at India's progress, SMEs have always been a key part of our success story and our growth. Whenever you look at all the GDP growth, parameters, it's always led by SMEs. And that's the reason why I wanted to talk to you about how much importance it holds for us. If you look at the India domestic tech industry, tech market, today, you look at when I say 227 billion revenue, this is largely with all the IT services company doing offshoring work. But what's heightening, or what's really making me glad, is the domestic tech market is quietly progressed to a $50 billion kind of a market now in India. And that's 20% growth over FY 2019. And that's a significant amount of growth. You don't see these kind of growth numbers happening at that kind of a scale in developing or countries so much. We've seen here, and this holds, this augurs very well for India for the next decade. And that's the reason why I'm so gung-ho about SMEs going to rule the roost in the coming decade. And that's going to be our, growth engine going forward as well. While we do that, we have spoken about how our vision, look at the way the digital transformation has happened across everywhere. You name any industry, you name even the most deprived of sectors like education, for instance. In fact, education, the reason why I talk about education is because it connects with each one of you at your own home, because you may have a spouse for a, being in academics or teaching or something, or you may have your kith and kin in school or college. Their lives have completely changed because they started in the last 2 years. Instead of learning from school or a classroom, they learned from a digital classroom, from a virtual media. So IT has reached out to the base levels of our lives. Okay. And that's how, we've seen technology getting, creating opportunities. So much so that even in, you name any and every, even one of the best ones would be that IT industry, which has been there. Medical fields have been, always been on the IT adoption mode. But schools and colleges, because these are seed the mind young, right? At the time of in schooling itself, they have become so comfortable. Teachers, I can't even think of any other primitive people than teachers. In 2 years back, if you were to ask me how many teachers know how to access computers or how to use computers, leave alone talk about making presentations or delivering them. Today, they are so comfortable taking sessions over Zoom or Teams, and they have responded. Now that is, I'm saying, the common man or the common individual whose life has got touched by the impact of digital transformation. And that's where I'm saying these are some of the examples that I can talk about. There are many more, but this is one I thought it might resonate with you, and hence I spoke about it. In your sphere, I want to ask, is your organization ready for what comes next? For example, if you look at the world, it's accelerated across the world, right? Demand has been, 15% on-demand model is coming up in 2023. It's up from less than a 1% in 2019, which means that companies are changing the way they approach their consumers, their subscribers. So many things, happening. Everyone, people, companies have decided to shift the work remote, to move to hybrid, or in some cases they've said let's go remote work permanently post COVID, because they've discovered opportunity to save operational expenses, and which augurs well because it adds to their bottom line, which means that if they add it to their bottom line, they're able to bring more investment back into the company in the real needed areas. Look at, some of the organizations have benefited by, modernization of data that has happened. Prior to that, hardly any company, if you look at any of the company today, most of the companies today in the last 2.5 years have had to augment their existing facility, whether it is the data center, why is it happening? Because data, by and large, is growing at the rate of 100% almost every 2 years. 100%. Whatever data you had today, it will go up by 100% less than 2 years. So because of this, why is this happening? You look at any and every sphere, from WhatsApp to Facebook to any of the social media, you are creating data and transferring data and storing data. Now, when that's happening, what also is happening is that there are people watching you. And then these are people who are not supposed to be watching you. What I refer here to is, the malware guys who create malware, or the hackers who create, attacks on you. That's another area, because your data is very, very crucial to some other people. They understand the potential that data holds, because if they have access to that data, they can create so much more. In fact, so much to say, you have seen in papers in the recent times about how some countries perpetrate on others. It is now digital warfare. It is not meaning people are attacking other countries over cyber, through cyber, more than the old time warfare. They believe that they can bring down the economy of a country by attacking through malwares and viruses and other things. So much so, it's important that digital transformation has to accelerate with the way the world is changing, the way people are changing, how they are working from their side. All the companies are working, all the world is changing the way every human being is using the IT in a different way, and hence we as organizations have to take that into cognizance and be prepared for any and everything. Moving on, when you look at when you're looking at what comes next, the expectation that everyone has from you, when I say you as in the IT folks in every organization, you're expected to deliver new experiences to your end users or your customers or your internal stakeholders and partners. You're always expected to drive data driven, you're expected to drive intelligent innovation, and you are expected to have everything optimization running across the entire edge, data center and cloud. This is something which is in, everyone expects maximum. And if you look at what else they are also expecting you to deploy and consume software, or look in a seamless, secure and responsible manner. All this in a nutshell. If I were to roll back the years, a decade or so back, IT people used to be in the back room or in the support of the supporting staff of any and every organization. Today, a CTO or a CIO is not spoken of in any order, like CEO, CFO, or it doesn't come in that order. It can come in any order. Depending on the business needs of the organization, sometimes the CTO takes precedence over many of the other CXOs. And that's the reason why that has happened is because IT as such, people have realized the potential of IT and have use of IT within their organization has ensured their prominence and their coming to fore. And that's the essential message I wanted to give to you, that from here you need to, as leaders in your organization and for driving the destiny of your organization in your industry, respective industry, how are you planning your organization to be there if you were to look at a digital transformation curve? Where are you going to be? Are you a leader, or are you an adopter, or are you an evaluator, or are you a follower, or are you a laggard? These are the 5 parameters which we created, or rather we looked on when we ran a survey along with Intel across 4,300 odd business leaders, just to get a perspective of how each of these organizations or each of these business leaders is viewing their organization as. So approximately 89% of the organizations recognized that they needed a more agile IT infrastructure so that they can manage the contingencies. 80% of the organizations also believed they have fast-tracked digital transformation programs in the last year. 94% of these report also mentioned, 94% of leaders mentioned that they faced serious barriers when they were about to embark on the transformation journey, which means that while you are trying to move forward, there still are people who try to give you a different perspective and try to hold you back. But then leaders always look for the future, and they look at what comes next and plan, and because many of the other people are unable to see that, and that's the reason why they end up being laggards. So to drive digital transformation, we at Dell, we have so many areas where we can help you transform these. Whether you look at from a multi-cloud flexibility, which will help you increase. With our solutions, we can help you increase your agility. With our digital workplace solutions, we can help you work and learn from anywhere and across. We can also help you create new value out of the data that you have, by providing you the necessary insights. And while doing all of these activities, we can help you achieve high level of cyber resilience, with the basic intrinsic security built into the solutions, so that you don't have to be worried about any of these malwares or any of these cyber attacks in your organization, because we have planned and we are constantly keeping track of what's happening in the world and ensuring our solutions are ahead of the time, so that you can rest in peace in terms of as far as these issues are concerned. While we remain committed to our core businesses, we are also committed to leave behind or create a sustainable world. And to do that, we have embarked upon progress made real, a comprehensive roadmap for our making greatest social impacts by year 2030, which is a result which focuses on advancing sustainability, cultivating inclusion, and transforming lives, while ensuring that we uphold all the highest levels of ethics and privacy. By doing that, we also are very cognizant about how we can ensure that we use recycled and renewable materials within our system. For instance, the aeroplane or the aerospace industry waste is used extensively into the polycarbonates, which results in preventing close to around 2 million pounds of getting diverted from landfills. And that's huge amount of environmental protection initiative that we are running. Apart from that, what we run also is a closed loop plastics, which essentially means that we in every system that we supply, we also look at recycling some of the plastic parts which are there within the system, which we incorporate into new parts or into the new systems that we manufacture. And alongside that, we also have started using, or rather we've been using tall oil from trees to create bioplastics. And this actually replaces petroleum based oils from the plastic manufacturing. And hence, overall, if you look at the three look at the carbon fiber, the closed loop plastics, and bioplastics, together we are able to close to 70% we are able to use renewable or recycled materials into the new systems. Last but not the least, while we do all these activities, we produce the world's one of the best hardware, provide the best solutions with the right kind of services through the world's best processes within our system, within our organization. And while doing all that, we are very, very, let me say, a disciplined organization, which is acting responsibly to ensure that we do not create environment pollution. We also leave behind we produce very minimalistic carbon footprint. While doing all of these things, we also come upon another aspect of our side, which is usage of technology in changing the way humans are living. In one of these instances where in India we have partnered with Dell Trust and Government of India to create digital life care. It's an analytical tool, mobile analytic tool, which helps connect patients with doctors along with their medical history. What this does is essentially it helps people being able to get they get medical care and at an appropriate time, and with their medical history being present in the system, they're able to get the right kind of solutions, and which ensures that they have a increased survival rate, as well as they have a better life expectancy. While all doing this, so far we have been able to impact close to around 100 million subscribers, and we envisage across 2030 we should be able to touch another 250 million, which means a total of 350 million lives we intend to impact through this. Currently, through this platform, we have trained close to around 75,000 odd healthcare professionals so that they are able to use this tool in a better manner. That, in a nutshell, is how Dell Technologies is trying to impact every segment of the customer, be it a consumer, be it a corporate, and as well as a common man through the use of technology and services. Thank you everyone. And I'd like to give it back to NASCOM.